Hello and welcome to the AI Applied podcast. I'm your host, Connor Grennan.
And I'm your host, Jaden Schaefer. Each week, we cover breaking AI news, tools, and interview experts giving you actionable tips on applying AI in your career and life.
Jaden, hey, listen, this is what I want to talk about today because I've been obsessing about this Humane wearable pin. You've probably seen that, you might have seen that TED Talk. You might have seen it on one of these models in Paris Fashion Week. I think it's coming out November 9th. But if any of y'all don't know, Humane is this, again, it's a wearable pin and it's the new device, right? It's supposed to be the new thing. I don't want to say replaces the iPhone, and I certainly don't want to do, I don't want to mischaracterize this thing, but if you haven't seen it, it just looks like a small little box. But there is so much to talk about with this thing. I have a million things around trust, around whether this is the new thing. The information tried to slam it a little bit today. I wasn't going for that because I don't believe it. But anyway, Jaden, have you seen this thing?
Yeah, I've looked into Humane a lot. I think this has been a big story like this whole year with AI because I think it's kind of like it is like the AI like hardware device that has been talked about. It's interesting. I think it's really cool. I mean, I would love to get some of your perspectives on it. I know you know some people at the company, and so I think that'd be cool to get some perspectives. But yeah, I mean, for based off of what I saw in like the TED Talk, that was really where I got most of my like exposure to it. But yeah, it's interesting. It's essentially like a little device. You can stick it in your pocket. It's got a camera on it. It's got a microphone on it, and it's got AI built into it. So you can sit there, you can talk to it, ask it questions. It can respond. In addition, because it's got like a little projector on it, you can like hold your hand out and it will project onto your hand like a screen. So that's kind of interesting how you can interface with it that way. Also, if you're getting a call, it will like project and you can like hold your hand out and swipe to answer your call. Like it does a lot of cool things. And the thing that was most exciting and interesting to me about it
Mm-hmm.
was when they first announced and kind of showed off like the audio translation feature. So
Yeah.
it's like you can be talking to someone and it will translate it into their native language. Of course, we're seeing this with a lot of new tools. Like 11 Labs is doing a killer job on that right now. They
Yeah.
just announced. So I'd be curious, and maybe I don't know if you have any insights from Humane. Like, is Humane trying to do all of this AI tech in-house, or do you think like if they see someone like 11 Labs smash a home run on a tech like that, they'll pull it in?
That is such a good question. I don't know. It draws me into that conversation about how ChatGPT 4 is sort of Frankenstein together, like all the multimodal stuff, whereas Gemini, I don't know what it's going to be like, but it's kind of from the ground up. So I don't know. I'll be really curious. I do think they have a super strong team over there. I think there's a few things that really, really fascinate me about this. First of all, I love like the big swing. Like I love like science fiction where it's trying to predict like
Yeah.
10,000 years out. And with this, it's like when like the iPad came out and people are like, oh, it's just a big phone. That's stupid. Or like big phones came out, they're like, oh, it's like a piece of toast or whatever. Like you don't know what's going to hit and what's not going to hit. And I think that with this, it looks like the thing that's either, hey, remember this moment, or maybe this isn't the thing. I still think the team is good and everything like that. But like, I guess I'm wondering the bigger, I don't like to use the word existential questions because I don't mean that, but the bigger questions that will sort of make the headlines are things like, wait a minute, you're telling me that somebody might be like wearing this device? Because the TED Talk demos are fun, right? I mean, he
Yeah,
picks up,
yeah,
Imran
totally.
Chaudhry picks up a candy bar. He's like, hey, can I eat this? Oh, well, you have to watch it. It's awesome. I'm guessing it probably works like that. The projection onto your hand,
Mhm.
the translation, that's like hyper practical. The big thing, Jaden, that we're going to have to talk about, and they just posted about it a lot today, is trust, right? So they now have what they call their trust light, which a little light goes on if it's recording. And that conversation alone, we could spend days on, right?
I want to tell you about today's sponsor, which is AI Box. AI Box is my own personal software company I'm currently working on, and we have officially launched a crowdfunding campaign over on Republic. AI Box is essentially a no-code AI app builder and marketplace, so you can chain together any AI models, put in your own custom prompts, and automate your workflows. If you're interested in investing in AI Box, you can go to republic.com/AI-box. We're raising up to $1.2 million, but we're really, really excited where this goes and excited to help you automate your workflows and bring AI to the masses with AI Box. Yeah, yeah. That is the big like issue I think a lot of people will have. And we we have like a precedent for how that's been received. So I think the original was the Google Glass. Google Glass
Mhm.
comes out. There's like bars in like different cities saying we're gonna ban it. No one's allowed to wear Google Glass, like as if the 20 people that actually have this device today. But there's a big uproar, right? People didn't want you walking around with glasses that could be recording you. And I think today, like Meta's got some and Ray-Ban's
Mhm.
made some. So like those kind of like recording glasses are out there. And I mean, I've watched a ton of YouTubers doing things where they have, like pins or glasses with cameras built in for when they do like their undercover like videos and stuff. So like the technology's out there. And so I think Google Glass just kind of got a bad rep on that. But that was like the first thing people kind of backlashed about. And then and then kind of around the same time as Humane, the other one I've seen, which I'm not sure if you've seen, is like there's this thing called the Rewind pendant.
Yep,
But it
yep.
was like, yeah, I actually think this is a brilliant marketing play by Rewind. Essentially like a pendant with a camera that you wear, and it keeps track of everything that happened. And people are like, well, do you really want to go to Thanksgiving dinner and share your opinions about anything when your family member has like a camera like that is like recording you 24/7 or anywhere? Just I don't know. It doesn't feel like doesn't the privacy issue is definitely a question. I think for Rewind, it was a great marketing play because now it's like, oh, well, what is Rewind? Oh, it's a software that records everything on your computer so you can go back and find it. Oh, that's kind of cool. And like, obviously, the software is going to be the big play. How many people are walking around with pendants? I don't know. But then, yeah, it comes up with Humane. I mean, I'm looking at a picture of this, and the pin looks super cool.
Mhm.
And so, like, maybe I'm just a sucker for like good design. Like, it looks like a really cool kind of designed device. Will people wear it? I don't know. To
But
be
Jim,
honest,
you're a sucker
it's
for
cool.
design, like the human race is a sucker. I mean, think about how Google Glass looked. Remember it? It looked like
Oh,
a
so
doctor's
bad. It's
office
a
tool or something.
cyborg.
It's like sticking out. It's ugly. And ultimately, nobody wants their face to look uglier, right? That's like humanity from evolution, right? So, but here's the thing, the iPhone is a beautiful thing and it has that same sort of sleek look. It sort of just kind of disappears. The pendant, I'm kind of with you. It sort of hangs, and I think there's something just weird about it. Not sorry, I shouldn't say that. It's just that when you combine it with the rest of the software, which is it tracks everything you've ever done, and then somebody's like saying, "Hey, I see you wearing that." So Humane is going to have to handle those same issues, right?
Yeah.
And people can say, "Well, you can still record people on your phone now." But it's different. So I think my big question, and this is where I sort of, where you and I want to get like, futuristic, and everybody, this is going to divide people completely. Like, do you think this is a good idea or a bad idea? Is it going to be this kind of thing where in a year you're not even going to think twice about this kind of thing? Of course, everybody has this thing, but that I think if so much of this, Jaden, is public relations, right? Remember Samsung with the data. Do you know what I mean? Like there are these moments, these seminal moments that we remember from generative AI, and I think this is going to be one of these moments where they have to get this right out of the box. No.
Yeah, no, 100%. I mean, yeah, with the pendant thing, I'm very inclined to think I would not ever wear something like that. Like, I don't want something tracking me 24/7. Like, I'm in the bathroom, I'm arguing with my wife, I'm like having a hard time with my kids. Like, I just I'll
Yeah.
take a picture if I want to remember something. All
Yeah.
right.
With you
Um,
100%.
yeah, the humane pin, I think it's cool. You know what's kind of interesting? I feel like it holds the same spot as like people that used to have the little Bluetooth in ear
Oh
like
yeah.
earpiece
Yeah.
talking on your phone. It's kind of like the same thing. It's like, well, why don't you just take your phone out of your pocket and talk? It's like, yeah, but it's a lot more convenient. You just tap a button on your ear. I don't really see a lot of people having those anymore, maybe because it kind of looks like dorky to your point. Humane, yeah, I think if they make it look sleek and cool, there's going to be users and use cases because it's like faster than your phone and it's right there. I think where they're going to have a hard time, though, to be honest, though, is just like really differentiating themselves from your phone because like the amount of time to reach in your pocket and pull it out
Mhm.
versus just tap it, like they really got to make it a lot more convenient. So maybe that's like quick buttons that do like really critical things that you want. I don't know what they're going to do, but they're competing with your iPhone, and that's a pretty tall order since that's everyone's number one device.
Yeah, I think just the last thing on that is also just, although maybe that's a friction that we didn't realize we could get rid of. Do you know what I mean? Like pulling your phone out of your pocket. I think that the story of technology throughout history is, well, it's fine. All I have to do if I want that is walk to the store. What's the big deal? It's like, why do I need that delivered to my house? And now Amazon, right? So I'm just wondering if little frictions can sometimes tell the tale of, how tech tends to evolve. And I'm just wondering if this is one of those things.
Yeah, I think that's definitely going to be where we're going to have to watch it. All right, Connor. you brought this up before we started the show today. I know you want to dig into it, and that is the story of Elon Musk talking about X and talking about how X was going to replace bank accounts. X, of course, I've actually, it's funny. Before I'll preface this whole segment with on my podcast, when I talk about Elon Musk, for some reason, it triggers a lot of people and they get mad at me and they tell me, why am I talking about him? He's hardly AI adjacent. Okay, to be fair, he did start OpenAI. He funded OpenAI. He kicked that whole thing off. He went and talked to Obama about AI regulation and safety before anyone knew it was cool and got completely blown off. Like, he's been in the space for a while, full self-driving on Teslas. It's a big AI space. I think he's relevant. And of course, X now is making some big plays with XAI. So he's going to be all in this. But let's kick off the story, Connor. What are you thinking?
Jaden, come on. I mean, AI adjacent is he is thick in AI. I mean, he wants to be AI, right? Like X is all about a big play for AI. I mean, if he's not AI, I would argue he's way more AI than Zuckerberg, although you can now argue that Zuckerberg is doing a phenomenal job with
Yeah.
Meta, the pivot. That might be a different story at some point. I can't believe what Meta's done. That's came out
Yeah.
of like Seabiscuit coming from behind.
Yeah.
Now, Musk, though, look, love him or hate him, I mean, he is a talking point. And here's the thing about Musk is that you just don't know whether he's being serious, whether he's just trying to make headlines. I'm not even trying to diminish it. One thing you have
Yeah.
to say about Elon Musk, the guy is a genius. I mean, you can't create what he's created and not. But let me just hold on. Let me find this quote real quick. Okay, so this is like from The Verge, Jaden. So it says, here's what he said. Okay, this is the quote. I'm not going to try to imitate his voice. I'm not sure how I would do that. Okay, he says, when I say payments, I actually mean somebody's entire financial life, Musk says, according to an audio meeting obtained by The Verge. The Verge is the news publication.
Yeah.
If it involves money, it'll be on our platform, money or securities or whatever. So it's not just like send $20 to my friend. I'm talking about like you won't need a bank account. Jaden, I want to hear your thoughts on that.
Okay, well, first things first is like, I will say, okay, my first reaction is this sounds remarkably similar to Sam Bankman-Fried when he was raising money for FTX and all the investors, and he's like,
Strong
it's gonna
endorsement by
revolutionize
Jaden
everything. I
Paper.
want you to buy a banana with FTX. Like, it's totally different. Anyway, so I think that's funny. But to give Elon Musk credit, like, yeah, the guy was at the beginning of PayPal, and I mean, X.com was what merged with PayPal to be what it is today. So, like, obviously, as much as I would love to say he's blowing smoke, he did make the most, he pretty much started or was at the founding of the most successful online payment platform that exists, period. So, like, yeah, it's fun to, like, come do the FTX comparisons, but like, I mean, he really was there. Okay, now as far as replacing bank accounts,
Yeah.
far-fetched to say the least. I mean, if he integrates bank accounts and turns it into a bank, sure, maybe there'll be a bunch of people that have their banks on there, but like, I don't see how this ever replaces a bank account, because at the end of the day, I need to send a wire transfer to someone for $25,000 and for my, paying my down payment for my house or like whatever. Like, obviously, if there's no bank account, it's not going to happen. So like, until, I think he just has to replace it. And I think what he's talking about is probably the same way that PayPal became like a de facto bank account. Like, oh yeah, I just keep money in my PayPal account. And then of course Venmo is the same thing. And like, I have like a balance in my Venmo account, and I send it to my friends and whatever. So like, I could see X replacing Venmo, no problem. PayPal, like, being the same thing. Sure, it has the audience, it's got the network, so sure. But like, bank accounts, like, how you need them for so much stuff.
That's my question. The other thing, just to kind of tie a bow on this too, is I don't know how much we want to play like the generation gap game, because like when I talk to my friends who are sort of like in their early 20s or something like that, I'm like, oh yeah, Twitter, Twitter or X or whatever you want to call it. They're like, yeah, we'd never go on that because it just like feels like angry and you have to be this and you have to be this. Now, by the way, this is also kind of a US centric point of view. Maybe it's
Yeah.
like Facebook. I forget that Facebook is still around, but it still has a
Yeah.
gazillion users. But X, banks feel like they should be agnostic. It feels like it should be like just like your grandfather's. X is not that. That's, I think, my
Oh
big concern.
yeah, that's a whole nother can of worms I didn't even think about. Like, I mean, obviously Elon Musk, like all the people that got banned, kind of brought people back. But like, what, you get banned from your X account, and then now your bank account
That's
disappears, and
right.
you laugh. But I have so many friends that have online businesses, and they're like, yeah, like, PayPal thought I was like a drug dealer because I was making so
Oh,
much money from e-commerce. So I have $250,000 in my business PayPal account that's just locked up. So I'm starting a new e-commerce thing about this to wait the 6 months for them to unlock my money. And I'm
unbelievable.
like gross, like just so gross. Like bank accounts, you just need your bank account unless you're breaking the law and the federal government is like freezing your assets. The company itself, like Chase Bank, is not going to just freeze my bank account and just tell me like, sorry, bye. Right. So I think that's another thing people do not trust, and neither should you trust a platform, especially like X, where like people are trying to cancel you for whatever reason with your money. Like, yeah, dubious at best.
I don't disagree, Jaden. I think we're totally aligned on this one.
Okay, well, obviously, I think there is a lot of room for AI in the financial institutions right now. I actually was just recently reading an interesting article talking about a company. So, GGV Capital has backed a company called Arturia. It's AI. Essentially, it's creating AI financial documents. Um, it's interesting when in the article I was reading, it's on TechCrunch. It said, simply put, the company's platform structures data in a time at a time a contract is drafted. So as documentation is added, an intelligent workflow helps speed up approvals, negotiations, and decision making. Meanwhile, an insights layer provides a look at, for example, any bottlenecks in the process, how many edits were made to a particular section, or how the process could be smoother for the next contract, yada, yada. It does a lot of cool things. I think it's interesting. They just raised $30 million in their Series B. But I think bringing this back to like the overall arching trends that we're going to see in the financial space, I think there's a ton of room for AI in finance. This is just obviously one example of creating all your financial documents. Anything that has document and creation is AI is going to be able to jump in there and pull it off. And obviously they're raising $30 million. They're raising a lot of money for these tools. They have a lot of value. What I'd be curious from your end, Connor, is I know you've worked with a lot of financial institutions. Recently, you did a podcast with someone from Goldman Sachs. How are you seeing AI integrated and applied into kind of the financial industry?
Yeah, it's interesting, right? Because, regulated industry is wildly different, right? You have to be so careful, and that's going to require either an enterprise sort of grade, large language model, either you build or something like that, or you have to find these tools. I see it in healthcare a lot too. These tool and insurance, everything like that, where you need a sort of a specified tool, and the tool, like on the can, it's like you can trust us. Do you know what I mean? Like that is
Yeah.
number one. I think that's the first thing about it, is that like in any kind of regulated industry. And that's why I think, again, sort of like with what we're doing here, like AI applied, like you want to think about, what actually fits your need, not just like the shiny tool, but what actually fits your need. So first, trusted source. You need that. And it sounds like they're going down that route. But the other thing, just about the sheer practicality of it, when you're talking about financial institutions, all that kind of stuff, a lot of things get the headlines. What doesn't? In the same way, I mean, health is a little different because like you have electronic medical records, things like that, that sort of get some attention. But
Right.
those are the things that just in these worlds take up so much time and require so much headcount and require so much in the way of cost and everything like that. And I think that sort of when you're thinking about applying these tools and what tools, because again, Jaden, I think you're with me on this. Like, we just want to crush AI FOMO. Do you know what I mean? Like, we want to sort of like
Yeah.
just take like, listen, you don't need every tool under the sun, but like when you hear something where you're like, that's what I am trying to do, that's when I think you really need to perk up and sort of see what a subscription costs. But I'll also say this, like companies like this, now sure, they may get swallowed by somebody else, but if you ever look at like the most like millionaires or whatever in the United States, it's people like car dealerships, right? Everybody thinks it's like, oh, the hedge fund guys, or
Yeah. Yeah.
the women that run these. No, it's like the sort of the meat and potatoes, and this feels like a very meat and potatoes, super applicable. I can't attest to sort of like the efficacy of it, but I can say if
Mhm.
somebody's listening, being like, that's what I need. I think that's what they're going for. You know what I mean?
Yeah, 100%. I think so often today, and going on like the whole AI FOMO thing, is like every software company is an AI company today. Like they're synonymous.
Yeah,
Like
right.
if you're a software company, you're an AI company. Otherwise, you're a dead company. So um, I think, yeah, look at the tools you use. Look at the processes you currently have. Chances are those companies are coming out with AI tools. If they're not, they have a competitor that is, and you might want to switch over. But yeah, I think there's so many AI applications and so many ways that AI helps you. But at the end of the day, it's like this stuff is going to get rolled into every software that currently exists. So when these new ones come down the pipe, very cool. Like you said, if you're looking for something like this, jump on it. But if you're not looking to necessarily do something that this software specifically does, don't get FOMO. It's not a big deal not using it. So definitely think there's that aspect as well.
Yeah, no, I think so too. And when we think about trust and think about these tools that are super going to be like really, really going to be focused on trust, and that's that. I just want to sort of like just to wrap us up today, maybe just sort of pointing out that there's all these, transparency sort of studies going on. They're showing that all these large language models. I think it was, let me see, it was Stanford University Center for Research on Foundation Models published a study. The highest score for transparency among all the ones that we know, ChatGPT, Claude, the highest score is 54, which is just unbelievably poor. That's just kind of like where we are. But I think that's also why trust is becoming top of mind. And I think that is going to be just a huge play. It also, there's this other, frontier model forum. I don't know if you saw this with AI. Who is it? Like it's AI Anthropic. OpenAI, Anthropic, Google, Microsoft, all combined for a whopping $10 million. But it's ridiculous. But it's also like, I think these organizations know that people just want to know about trust. I think social media freaked everybody out. I think that sort of like anything that is branded as trust is going to and ultimately do well.
Yeah, no, 100%. I mean, that's literally the reason why I think Anthropic is doing good as a company. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know how much safer its AI model is than all the other AI models, but like that's their number one selling point and talking point is like how much safer they are. And they've got a ton of money. Like companies that invest in them, funds that give them money, it looks good to them. Like, yeah, I'm investing in responsible AI. And I mean, regardless of the fact that like, Sam Bankman-Fried was like one of their biggest investors of all time. Like that's just a funny scandal. I don't know how they're going to
Unbelievable.
move past, um but anyways, yeah, I think companies that brand themselves as trust companies, and companies kind of focusing in that area are definitely going to do well. Yeah, that's hilarious that the Google, Microsoft,
Can I
OpenAI
just say,
combo is
okay,
10
listen,
million bucks.
just perspective, right? Jane, you saw this too. OpenAI early on announced that they were devoting 20% of their compute, which is, I don't know, but it's got to be a vast sum to just, what they call super alignment, just making sure that this thing is aligned with human values, so to speak. They have other things. They have this, what's the other thing? Hold on. We were just saw this. Remember this preparedness team? Did you see this thing? Like they're
Oh,
creating a
yeah, yeah.
preparedness team to address potential catastrophic risks and are offering $25,000 rewards for best safety ideas. Like, so companies are putting money toward this. They're just not sort of like doing it together. And I get it. These are for-profit companies, but I
Yeah.
do think that it sort of raises the tide if they're saying, see, we're working together, because they need that. They don't want that sort of like ugly shot of all of them lined up, Zuckerberg, Altman, Musk, everybody else in front of Congress, like that sort of
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
shot where it's
You
like
know
the
what
AI
else?
guys. Right,
All right,
right. And like, yeah.
here's my conspiracy theory on
Oh, I'm
that
listening.
is
I'm here
that
for this.
10 million bucks, that's no big deal for these Google, OpenAI, Microsoft guys to drop on this like, frontier model forum. But this is my conspiracy theory on it is like, let's say, this stuff all gets like super political and it gets super like the one company tries to burn the other, blah, blah, blah. Okay, break up this company. This company's bad. You need to put sanctions on them, whatever. Okay, so let's say Google gets in the good graces or Microsoft gets in the good graces with regulators, but Google's in the bad graces, right? Like you kind of have these like public perceptions towards companies. In an event like that, wouldn't it be awesome for whichever of the company gets kind of thrown under the bus or put onto the chopping block or their software does something bad to be like, no, look, like we're with the good guys that you
Oh,
guys like, right? So it's like either they all burn together or they
yeah.
all succeed together. And I think they're banking on like going to all be able to succeed or someone's going to be able to be successful in this space. So by like partnering with the other people, if all of a sudden those other people become really popular and are like super trustworthy, they're like, they can kind of latch onto that credibility. So I feel like there might be a little bit of that
So
place.
I think you're absolutely right, because social media is now just social media, right? Like there's no differentiation between like whether what Facebook did, which was atrocious back in the 10 years ago, 12 years ago kind of thing. And I think now they're more hyper aware, but they're like, look, we're all together, we're all in this together. And I think Sam Altman's done a phenomenal job on that. I think Zuckerberg probably has some groveling to do. But you're right. I mean, I kind of like this. I'm kind of down with this conspiracy theory. I think I say we run with it.
Connor, it's been fantastic talking about AI and trust, how these softwares can be applied into our businesses today, and our careers. It's been a ton of fun chatting. For the listener, thanks so much for tuning into the AI Applied podcast. Make sure to rate us wherever you get your podcasts. It helps a ton for other people to find us. And I hope that you have a fantastic rest of your day.